Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have some really interesting news to go over that might end up affecting the entire games industry. We've often said that competition in the games industry is a good thing. It pushes change, it encourages innovation, and studios need to work harder to keep people on their game by making their games better than the rest of the competition, right? It's the best thing for players. A great example of that would be XDefiant. Even though XDefiant got shut down, the mere thought of it taking market share away from Activision is likely one of the reasons why they started to make positive changes over the course of Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6. Things like bringing back Dead Silence, bringing back the normal minimap. Of course, the revamped Prestige mode that we have within Black Ops 6 is likely due to the fact that XDefiant was saying it was going to have a Prestige mode, even though that never ended up happening. When a company has no competition, they get lazy, they get complacent, and that's exactly what happened to the Call of Duty franchise, and it's also happening on the other side of Activision Blizzard with Overwatch. For years there, Overwatch dominated the entire hero shooter genre. There'd be plenty of other games that would come out, but none of them could ever hold a candle to the popularity of Overwatch, and that was a huge problem. They launched Overwatch 2, they scrapped all the single-player content that was promised, they then went free-to-play, and all that did was strip away all forms of progression in the game in exchange for an absurdly expensive in-game shop. Like, look at the shop right here, man. A $70 bundle that's on sale. Like, everything here is like $30 or $40 for crying out loud. It's freaking horrible. Well, with Marvel Rivals coming out a few months ago, it took the world by storm, and Overwatch fell off a cliff. Like, picture how bad Call of Duty is doing right now. Well, Overwatch might be down even worse, and you know what happened? It forced them to get their shit together, because today they revealed that with the new season, which starts on February 18th, they're going to be revamping the game with a perk system. There's going to be an entirely new round-based mode called Stadium, a new hero is coming out, new maps are going to be added, map revamps are going to be made, and the big one, they're bringing back loot boxes to the game, and that's really freaking interesting to me, because tons of games had loot boxes back in the day. Call of Duty obviously was all about supply drops there for a bit, but this seems to be the first time ever that a game got rid of loot boxes just to bring them back. If there's another example of that, let me know down there in the comments. This is the first time I've heard of anything like this, and I'm curious to see what the reception to this is going to be, because if Overwatch does a good job with the re-implementation of loot boxes, we may very well see them return to more games as companies start to follow suit. What's crazy about this is I literally threw out the opinion that supply drops were better than the Call of Duty shop in yesterday's video, and then today Blizzard makes this big announcement with Overwatch. I think this is only going to be a net positive for players. I want to explore that idea really quickly here in this video. There's been so much negative backlash online coming from people, but it seems like most of these guys don't actually play Overwatch, or they don't understand how the system works and why it's only a net positive for the game, and believe it or not, it's something that I think should come back to Call of Duty as well. I see things like, you always said supply drops were terrible, and I see things like, wow, you want them to bring gambling back to the game, and that's not the case. Like, I understand that in the case of Call of Duty, fans got really burnt out with an incredibly predatory system like we had back in Black Ops 3, but when done right, loot boxes can actually be a good thing, and I'm going to prove that. So, how Blizzard is handling this is loot boxes are going to be given out to players as weekly rewards, event rewards, and then some of them are going to be on the battle pass as well. These loot boxes will be cosmetic only, and they will not be able to be purchased from the store. It used to be, back in the original Overwatch, you would get these every time you leveled up, but now it seems like they're going to be tied to events, challenges, and the battle pass. What made loot boxes so great back in the day was how much content you could earn by playing the game. Not swiping a credit card, not buying bundles, not buying battle passes, just simply playing the game. If we look at my hero pool for my account, I have a metric shit ton of cosmetics I earned over the years without ever needing to spend money. Take a look at Doomfist here. I never really played this character much. I only have 19 minutes total on him in the 8 years that he's been out, yet I have a ton of legendary skins for him because I got them for free by earning loot boxes. This was true of every single character in the game. All the original Overwatch heroes, I'm just swimming in skins, emotes, highlight intros, and everything else. But then we look at the Overwatch 2 heroes, I have literally nothing on them despite putting a ton of time into the game. That's because with Overwatch 2, they essentially just want to get rid of loot boxes and player progression, and instead, they just want you to play the game and buy stuff from the shop like every other free-to-play game in the world. That right there is why I believe loot boxes can be good for players, so long as they are done right. With them being cosmetic only and not being purchasable in the shop, all they do is reward people, albeit randomly, with a ton of free stuff for them to use in the game. The same is true of the Call of Duty games where they did things right. I think Call of Duty World War II is a good example of supply drops being a core progression path within the game when combined with contracts, orders, and armory credits. The problem with supply drops in Call of Duty, however, is Activision always got too greedy. They would put real weapons and even sometimes stat-changing weapon variants into the supply drop loot pool with incredibly low drop chances, and this meant that basically you did not have a chance at getting these weapons. You either had to pay a ton or play a ton, but either way, it was never guaranteed, it was always going to take forever, and it was really shitty shitty, especially considering actual guns were there. I remember there was an update back in Black Ops 3 where they say, you know, we're bringing back the PPSH, or I think the MP40 got added to the game as well, and I just knew I was never going to be able to play with that weapon because I did not buy supply drops and the drop chances were incredibly low. It was a really predatory system, and nobody is defending that whatsoever. It was a huge pain in the ass, and it was a slap in the face to the community, and I think that's where most of this backlash comes from. Moving from supply drops to having weapons released as free tiers on the Battle Pass was great for players, but it also came with a price. With Activision getting rid of supply drops, the amount of content that fans could actually earn in their $70 video game started to shrivel down. Seemingly every single day there's a new bundle being thrown into the shop for anywhere from $15 to $30, and nothing is earnable. Like in the case of Black Ops 6, we have prestige rewards, which are great, and then we have dark matter, and then that's pretty much it. For doing the zombies Easter egg on each map, you get an incredibly basic skin, and that's pretty much all when it comes to the free stuff outside of the occasional event. What makes supply drops and loot boxes good for the player base and the publisher is it allows fans to earn content for free while also organically increasing player count and audience retention. People sign in to play the game if they have a reason to, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, but at this day and age, fans are incredibly progression driven. This is why everybody's playtime falls off a cliff the moment they hit Prestige Master or when they finally get Dark Matter. They no longer have anything to work towards, and with skill-based matchmaking running the show, all these players have to look forward to in the game is signing in, dealing with the matchmaking algorithm, and then signing out. There has to be an extra layer to the game to keep people interested long term, and this is why the Battle Pass is incredibly tedious and takes forever to get through, and it's also why they have so many random little mini events. But that stuff has not been enough to save Call of Duty's dwindling player numbers. In the case of COD, the core gameplay experience is what's turning fans away. Dealing with cheaters all the time and the shitty matchmaking just isn't fun, and after all these years, fans are finally fed up. In the case of Overwatch, the core game has always been pretty good, but fans got bored and wanted something new. Blizzard got lazy and they started to nickel and dime everybody with every single update, and when Marvel Rivals came out, everybody jumped ship. It's because of that game, Marvel Rivals, that the Overwatch team finally had to get their shit together, and I pray that the same thing is going to happen to the COD franchise. We already know that GTA 6 is coming out this year, and that's going to be massive, possibly the biggest video game in the history of ever. Like, it's going to be freaking huge, and now we have teasers for the new Battlefield game that's going to be coming out early next year. Call of Duty, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in ages, I mean, all these years, its biggest competition has been freaking X-Defiant, man. Like, COD has had no competition forever, and for the first time in years, they will have some proper competition. And looking at the player numbers and all the news and controversy that's been surrounding the game over the course of the past couple of months, the writing is literally on the wall here. Call of Duty will need to do something drastic, and it's going to be really interesting to see how everything plays out over time. And as always, I'll be here with you guys every step of the way as we learn more, as more stories come out, as more news develops. But for right now, I'm going to wrap up this video here today. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and feedback on today's news down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you for your continued support on my channel, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.
You make this look easy.